All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. It is Tuesday, April 11th of 2023 here. Looks like we got a 10-game MLB main slate later this afternoon / evening, depending on where you are. We got a 2-game NBA slate. It is officially NBA playoff season. This is the first two play-in games, so it should be interesting. We could talk some NFL, NBA playoff strategy here. And then we also have an NHL 11-game main slate. And on coming up early Thursday morning, the RBC Heritage will be teeing off for another good week of golf. But with that being said, for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew, one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. It's a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all questions that come in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord, there's a link in the description below to get joined up. Highly recommend it. And we also take questions live in the YouTube chat. We'll get to all the questions before the end of the show, but just going to get the app pulled up here. A couple housekeeping things. I wanted to touch on a couple questions from yesterday that I had to follow up on. And then it looks like we have one question from support that actually came in, so we'll knock that one out. But aside from that, no questions. So if anybody has any questions, now is a great time to get those in. As always, going to start with a couple of these follow-ups here. So there was a question yesterday from John Sams Jr. He asked, what is the best way to read the stats? For instance, if a projected player is projected to get a hit. And I didn't feel like I answered this one particularly well, so I wanted to just go over it one more time here. So if we were to go over to the MLB main slate for today and specifically look at our batters here. So I'm just going to do this. Whoever is the top projected player, Paul Goldschmidt. Okay, so we have Paul Goldschmidt here for his doubles category. We have a little like tooltip almost that pops up as well. It says average projected singles hitters or given up for pitchers. So basically what this is saying is that, hey, on average, if we take all the doubles that Paul Goldschmidt hit across all of the sims and then divide it by the number of sims, on average, he hits 0.27 doubles per game per sim. And this just basically means that we think there is a 27% chance that Paul Goldschmidt will hit a double in today's game. And then, similarly for triples, we're saying that there's a 3% chance that he hits a triple today. There's a 24% chance that he hits a home run. There is a 7% chance that he gets a stolen base. So that is basically what these detailed stats that you see here are saying or explaining or trying to just kind of give some more info on what these players' detailed stats are, which ultimately lead to their projections here. So wanted to double back on that one. And then secondly, Kyle asked a question at the end of the show yesterday asking about back testing FanDuel MLB, if we found anything with a high R squared, to the top 1% of lineups in any sport that seem to translate. So my understanding even now is that you can't backtest FanDuel MLB particularly well just because they don't have a downloadable CSV with all of the lineups, with all of the contest data, etc. So you kind of need that. And then, you go and you take that and you import that into R or into Python and use that to do your back testing. So if you're interested in learning more about what our back testing looks like, learning more about the back testing that we've done in the past, I would direct you over to a Behind the Sims series that we did. It was really good. There were a lot of people involved in this one. It was Eric, it was Matt, it was Elijah, it was Jordan, and we did this pretty long here, 8 episode series on contest simulations. And if you're looking for more info on what our internal contest simulations look like, what they are, I would highly recommend checking out this Behind the Sim series. You will probably get more from this than I could give you with any one answer here. So a lot of content. Work your way through it slowly, but this is a great watch if you're interested in learning about what back testing MLB specifically looks like, because we did do that last summer during the MLB season. All right. Those were our two housekeeping things. Going to jump into our first question that came in from support here. And this question says, hi, this is my third time trying SaberSim. I was able to keep positive a few months back, and I really like your model. I think by my own fault, I can't quite figure out how to build profitable lineups. I've tried just doing 50-50s, GPP only, 100 max, can't seem to keep it profitable. I do a ton of research. I stay green in sports betting. I'm up 1,400 year to date on sports books. I love your projections. They help me with parlays. I love to be able to keep my subscription. And that's kind of the end of the question there. So basically, this is kind of like a DFS versus like sports betting comparison. I would say that these things are not apples to apples. I think it's easy to kind of look at it that way, but at the end of the day, it is really hard. I think like a good example of that is probably like outright bets for golf just kind of come to mind, like right off the bat. You could have projected Jon Rahm to, or you thought Jon Rahm was going to win the Masters, right? You get him at like 7.5 to 1, and you win that bet, right? But like let's say that you just had this inclination that Jon Rahm was going to do really good. You put him in 100% of your lineups, right? Well, he's 15% owned in the contest. So great, you've gone from 100% of lineups down to 15%, but even for these large field GPPs, take like the $15 Millie Maker, right? There's 315,000 entrants. Top 10% is 30,000. Top 1% is 3,000. So top 0.1% is 300. So top 0.01% is 30. So top 0.001 or maybe 2 zeros, maybe 3 zeros, somebody got lost there, is third place, right? So even if you pick Jon Rahm as the winner, you're still only in the top 15%, and you still have so much more to go, right? And there are 6 players total in this lineup. If one misses the cut, even though you have Jon Rahm, you're probably not going to win, right? So what I'm trying to say is that winning in DFS is ultimately like so much harder than like beating the sports books. And in my opinion, like so much has to go right. That is why DFS is like such a high variance game. The payouts are also exponential, and just going with our golf example, I think that was like a 25% to first contest, right? First is like $1 million, and then there's like a big drop to like 200K, and then by the time you're at 15th, like you might not even be paying for your entry fees. Actually, I'm like very positive you're probably not even paying for your entry fees if you max out the contest by the time you get to 20th, which is still in that like top 0.001% of the contest, right? So DFS is like a very I would say it is a marathon for sure. I think sports betting is very similar, but I just think ultimately the swings in DFS are really big. A lot of times with like these long seasons, you only need like 1 or 2 big wins to really pay for your season and get you in the positive and have you have a positive ROI for a season. So that is why like we preach about contest selection, we preach about the DFS profit plan, being very diligent in your contest selection. It's the equivalent of like odd shopping, right? You are going to different books looking for the best line. Where can I get the best bang for my buck and squeeze out some more edge? Like that is essentially what our contest selection guidelines are saying. Find the best contests under $3. Play overlay contests over on Owner's Box. Do whatever you can to spread that out and find the best contest. Essentially, the equivalent of odd shopping there. So DFS, I don't think that. I think there is a much greater chance of you not seeing a profit in the short term as opposed to what you would see if you were, on our prop plan. Like our prop plan, started it for NBA in January, and we're up about like 40-ish units on the season, and that is within the last February, 3-ish months here. And that is like a pretty quick return, you see that return pretty fast, right? You could have started playing DFS 3 months ago easily and be in the negative, right? But then you keep grinding it out. May you hit like a big one for 5K, and boom, all that red is now all green, and then you're turning like a 20% ROI, something like that, right? So that is really the nature of DFS. I'm glad you're giving us another shot. Watch our DFS profit plan video over on the YouTube, and continue to ask questions. And I think it's great that you're committed to this. You're asking questions and trying to get feedback from the team. So I think all of those things are good. I think that means you're like of the right mindset. Check out this Start Winning More with our DFS profit plan video and kind of go from there. But we do this show Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. You can ask any questions you want. I'm here to give you guys as much feedback and assistance as I can in your process. But I think that, that is probably the first step to becoming a profitable DFS player. All right. That was our only question from support. Nothing in the Discord. Gonna hop over to the YouTube chat. Got 2 questions here from David and Patrick. Now is a great time to get in any questions. All right. David said, have you had any success using the one-off rule on DK? So how would I say this? I am not judging my success in contests based on this one-off rule. So let's say, I have a good day. I am not chalking it up to like, hey, this one-off rule really worked and it did its job. I think the reason I'm not thinking like that is because I'm mostly playing like a MME approach, a mass multi-entry approach. I try to get down, a lot of lineups. To be honest with you guys, most of my action has been over on Owner's Box. I've just been trying to eat up all the overlay and the softer contests as possible. There's plenty of overlay and soft contests over on Owner's Box. I would recommend taking advantage of it. Yesterday was like the first day I played where the flagship did not like completely overlay. It was instead like reduced rake. So I think that it filled what is that? It was like 13% not filled. And then so it was just like basically like a reduced rake contest. So that was the first time it wasn't like less than 20% empty. So that's good. Like it means more players are playing over there. But still plenty of like reduced rate to go around. So I'm just going to try and keep eating that up while I can. But then, similarly, like when I have a good day, I'm also like not chalking it up to this rule. I think if you're somebody who's building a handful of lineups, maybe 1 lineup, maybe 3 lineups, maybe 5 lineups, you could like be so much more deliberate with the lineups that you take with you into your contests. And then say, oh, okay, I had 3 lineups today and I played, 5 2s and 5 3s from these teams that are, 2 stacked and 3 stacked. One of these players has a low home run expectation, like Blake Sabol right here. I don't know what his home run expectation is. I would have to like go to the home screen and look, but I'm just using it for the sake of the example. Playing this Giants 3 stack was good. And if you are only building a handful of lineups, I think you can micromanage it a little better in that way. But when I'm playing, 300 unique entries, it's really hard to do. So I'm kind of taking the approach like, hey, this rule is generally going to be good and give me what I want, because in general, I do want to stack and take advantage of that compounding correlation effect that you get from stacking. So for me, it's always better to stack more than stack less. So all this rule does for me is help me stack more, and I'm generally fine with using it. I haven't seen anything strange with it, I guess is the right word. All right, Patrick said, Rendon being a late scratch, what is a better process? Late swap the entire lineup or quick swap to best available or best from same team? Okay, this is a good question. So what I would suggest, you know what? Let me get a entries file here so we can do a late swap. I'm just going to enter one of the free contests for MLB today so we can get a CSV in here. Okay, that's entered. So I'm going to go to my entries real quick. Going to get my CSV in here. All right, so we have this. Going to go back to this build. Okay, so it is just one lineup here. So we're just going to like mimic what like a late swap would basically look like here. So I'm going to fill this, going to fill all, going to hit download. So now I'm going to go and remove, let's just remove Lamonte Wade Jr. here. So going to go to San Francisco batters, Lamonte Wade, going to, maybe it's 0 out. Okay, so just a note for you guys, because I just did this and I want everybody to be aware of this. So when you uncheck a player from your player pool, the red lightning bolt will not come on. When a player's projection goes to 0, the red lightning bolt will turn on. This red lightning bolt is what tells you that, hey, you have an out player in your lineup and you should swap them out. The reason it does not do that when you uncheck a player is mostly because of filters. Like, let's say you were being aggressive with your batter filter here, and then you said, hey, I don't want to play a batter whose projection isn't greater than 6. There are plenty of starting players with a projection greater than 6. So we uncheck those players to remove them from your pool. But because they still have a projection here, that is why the trigger is not going off. So it is only when somebody gets dropped to a 0 projection. So just something important to know in general there. But I'm going to turn Lamonte Wade to 0 here. When we click this, we have the option to do a quick swap. Best available, best from same team. I think that if you are in a pinch here, I would suggest just using best from same team. And that way you keep the stack intact. And then, you're still going to get that correlation, because if it's like you're playing all these guys from the same team, you want to, I would imagine that a player on the same team is going to get more benefit than some one-off player from some team that just happens to fit the salary and is best projected. But if you have more time, if you got the Rendon news right away, had a couple minutes to late swap, what I would do is I would go to late swap, and then I would use this only swap lineups containing out players. This will go and find all of your lineups that have Anthony Rendon, and then it will subset those from your set. So let's say you're playing 20 lineups, you have 5 with Anthony Rendon. What I would do is just late swap only lineups without players. Then this number of lineups will change to 5. And then we will only rebuild the 5 lineups that had Anthony Rendon. And then you'll get completely fresh lineups, depending on who else is locked, et cetera, from the remaining games. So I think that best option is late swap, only swap lineups containing out players. But if you're in a pinch, I think that best quick swapping best from same team is another good way to go. So I would do those 2 things. I also think that you could even come in here, do the best swap from same team, download that. So I'm going to hit best from same team, hit apply, going to hit download, upload that to the site to just get something in without any out players, and then come back and swap out the Rendon ones. But I think that those are probably 2 ways that you could do that. All right, Mike said, Rendon was a very late scratch last night, and we had moments to late swap. Great job by the SaberSim team for getting it updated a few minutes prior. I was able to late swap. Awesome. Yep, glad you were able to late swap. The news came out super late. I actually missed it myself, and I had like a lineup toward the top on the owner's box main GPP, and it had Rendon in it, and I was pretty upset. But it also had Trout, and he kind of busted, so it wouldn't have ended up getting there anyways. But if you guys are in the Discord, right? We talk about the Discord at the beginning of every show. There's a link in the description below to join. We have our MLB lineup alerts channels this is synced up with the Underdog MLB Twitter account. So we pull in the tweets automatically there. So like last night, if you go back and scroll up through the Sims from last night, you'll see that, hey, Anthony Rendon is scratched. Then you'll see an updated Angels lineup. And then it looks like about within 5-6 minutes, we had a fresh Sim with the new lineup. And that was about 7 minutes prior to game time, with the news coming out about 10 minutes prior to game time there. So all of that kind of came in. We processed it. We were able to get that updated for users to swap. But yeah, that was a very, very late swap. Foss said, I got some swapped, but not all because I only saw it with 2 minutes to go. If I had quick swapped, I would have made it. I gambled on a full swap. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm talking about. The quick swap really does take seconds. Come in, do a quick swap, hit apply, download those entries, upload them to the site, and then come back and then do a swap. The only thing I'm like thinking about here is that, once you hit this apply and then download, SaberSim is going to treat that as your new entries file. So this gets a little tricky. So the way I would, if you want a quick swap and then try and late swap, what I would suggest doing is doing the quick swap, hitting download, uploading those entries to the site. You're going to have to come back and upload a new entries file. And then what you would do is you would upload the entries file that you use to fill your contest. So like for me, when I hit upload and then I hit select file, this just takes me to like all of my downloaded files on my computer. You should have the file that you used to fill your contest originally, and then you just upload that here. So that will say you have Anthony Rendon in your lineups, and then you could late swap from there. So it gets like a little tricky if you quick swap first, but I think that quick swapping first is the safest route to go. All right. Ryan said, what is your min unique process for these small NBA slates? I think this is a good question. I've been wanting to talk a little NBA. So let's go over to NBA. We got a 2-gamer tonight, right? So I think that first thing that's interesting here is the slider settings. Sliders are on 0.9 automatically here. I think that's fine. I'm also okay with 0.10. I think that, 2-game slates, especially like for the playoffs, I feel like the player pools might be a little tighter. Players are going to play more minutes. So you got to be aware of those things. I think it's okay to take single game or slate simulations here of these games and build your lineups using that. But I also think 0.9 is fine too. Just some food for thought there. So let's just build some lineups. I'm going to make my 2 adjustments now so I don't have to go back and do it after. But yeah, let's talk about min uniques. So as far as my min uniques go, I'm always letting my pool kind of guide me as to what the right number is. I don't have any predetermined notions about what is a good min unique setting and what is not. And the way I let my pool guide me is I scroll to the bottom of however many lineups I'm building, and then I just start increasing this and then see where it takes me. So at 5 min uniques, I don't even have enough lineups in my pool to meet that. So let's go to 4. This would be like kind of the Jordan process here. Jordan likes to, max out min uniques. Once it's maxed out, go 1 back and then kind of roll with that. He would be happy with 4 here. I would probably go less than this. And I would be much more comfortable with 3 here. Really close, like just over the top 10% of lineups in my pool here. Still gives me some flexibility to make any further adjustments I want and kind of go from there. But yeah, so I mean, ultimately, kind of let the pool guide you, know what kind of player you are. I think a step aside or beyond letting the pool guide you is looking at the exposures and seeing if they are too risky or not risky enough for your taste, for your risk tolerance. So Jordan kind of lets the bottom of the pool guide him. I try to find something more in the middle, but I think a lot of players are like, hey, I wasn't spread out enough. I had too much of this player. He did bad. How do I combat that? The answer would be to get more diverse. Or sometimes players or users come in and say, hey, felt like I was kind of too spread out last night. What should I do differently? Decrease your mini leagues, get more aggressive, right? So I think those are like 4 good ways to look at mini leagues and then figure out where you want that setting to be, whether from a pool / saber score point of view, whether from a individual player allocation point of view, and then figure out what you want to do. But I would go one of those 2 routes and then figure out which one matters to you more. All right. Those were our last questions. We are all caught up for today. I know Tuesdays tend to be a little bit of a slower show. We got all the questions in from over the weekend on Monday, and then a lot of the sports are heating up as the week goes on, heading into the weekend. So if there are any more questions, that would be great. Patrick has one here. Said, when building a 5,000 pool lineup, when is building a 5,000 pool lineup overkill? I always thought 1,500 was sufficient enough. So good question here. Frankly, the theoretical answer here is that it's never overkill, because we are building all of your lineups and then grading them afterwards. We generate all 5,000 lineups, and then SaberScore goes in and says, hey, this one is the best. These ones need to come down here, and then rearranges it all. In theory, your 5,000th built lineup could be your best lineup. So that is the right answer. I think it's okay to lower it. If you're building 3 lineups, 5,000 seems like a lot. If you want to build 1,500 and get like a 500 to 1 ratio of lineups that you're playing versus lineups in your pool, I think that's more than enough. So, kind of just judge it. We build lineups so fast these days that I don't think it's wrong to ever go with 5,000 unless you're like in a time crunch and you need to get, your lineups in within like a minute here. But, in theory, 5,000 is never overkill. Just use your best judgment. And if you're only playing, 1, 2 lineups, I think it's okay to lower your pool size accordingly. I don't think you're giving up a bunch by doing that. Ryan said, thanks. I'm usually only playing 2 to 3 mini uniques for NBA. Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I've talked to really good players. I think this is like something I've talked to Shady Advice, and he said that he doesn't use mini uniques. He is okay with some of the highest exposures having those 1-for-1 swaps, based on the internal methods that he's using. He does not use the mini uniques. And so, you'll find good players who use it. You'll find good players that don't. And that just goes to show you that it is a tool. It is not a necessity in any way, shape, or form. But that is it for today, everybody. I think Patrick said USFL will get the same XFL treatment. So this I'm not 100% sure of. We obviously have the XFL sims. They've been really good. I've seen users winning and a lot of positive feedback about it. I think it's going to come down to what the what's the word I'm looking for? How much DraftKings cares about USFL? How big are these prize pools? Are these contests getting a lot of attention and a lot of support for? So it'll be interesting. We'll have to see what the reporting is like. I think XFL has done a great job of increasing the amount of news reporting and the box scores and the stats. So they've made like a big effort on that front. That just helps us to give more accurate information in our projections, in our sims. When we know what players are in and out, that helps us a lot here. That wasn't something that we saw last year with XFL, but with some of the improvements that they've made to their product, we've supported it. So TBD if we will have USFL sims or not. I know that is a internal discussion going on within the team. Brian said USFL was a clown show last year. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of why, it really makes it hard for us to stand behind the sims and the projections when the leagues are, fumbling to just get out accurate information. So that's why we're a little hesitant with these things. That's why we, kind of waited and watched with XFL for like the first week or two. And then we got our sim out, and we've been very happy with the product thus far. So if I could see a very high possibility of if USFL, does something very similar, that we go the same exact route, but we will wait and watch at this point. But all right, everybody. Until tomorrow, take care. Good luck in your contest. If you guys are building lineups throughout the day, have questions, drop them in the Office Hours channel in the Discord. That'll give us a steady queue of questions to get rolling on today's show. So until then, take care, good luck, and I will see you. Bye.